You ready to go? I was told that the system is now working, and it's well past 4 o'clock. We should have the meeting. Bear motion on the minutes. Move second. Correct question. Those in favor, opposed, motion carried. Next meeting is June 22nd, 4 o'clock, same place. Any addition to the agenda? No, seeing none. We'll go with item number 1. Application of Government of Canada Active Transportation Fund. Speaker Fred Lin, anything to add or any new information?
Yes, Mr. Chair, nothing to add. Here to answer questions.
Okay, so any questions? Michael?
Hi there. Thanks to the Tech Service Department getting everything up and running in speedy order. That was great. My only question on this one is, I know there's the map that shows where the expansion is going to go, but my question is about enhancement of existing bike routes that are also on the map on PWT 15. So I know we're highlighting in this report grant opportunities for the extension. So all the purple areas that kind of connect where the green ones are. But my question, could this grant also be, or could we be applying for projects that enhance existing ones, or does it have to be only extensions and expansions?
Through the chair to Councillor Wolf, certainly our understanding of the program requirement is that they're typically looking for the expansion, and the 5 projects that we have identified in our assessment do best meet the funding criteria.
Oh, okay, then if I may through the chair, I'll just, no follow-up question, but just a comment or invitation. When councillors do attend the Alexandra Park opening on June 8th, if you can, I cannot attend, but anyway, it's at 2 p.m. You've got the invite already. You'd be parking or you'd be riding your bike there, and on Audland Road, there's one of those green routes, and I clearly see that there's a need for expansion. So that's why I brought that up, is because you'll see where you park. The road gets very narrow. There's Blackberry coming in on one side and cars park into the roadway. And to say this is a part of our city center cycling network, I think it shouldn't be green on this map. It's definitely not a safe part, especially where May Drive meets Audland Road. But anyway, you can see it sooner if you can, but in 3 weeks if you go to that event. So thank you.
Good, thank you. Alexa?
Thank you through you to staff. Now I see the Brown Gate Road, you're gonna have it on the south side of the road. On the north side of the road, the sidewalk just ends. It's got one of those sidewalks to nowhere. Is there any possibility of getting that sorted out at the same time that this happens, or is it something else?
Through the chair to Councillor Liu, that will be outside the scope of the current cycling project that we have identified along Brown Gate Road.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any further questions?
Move the recommendation.
Second.
No further discussion. Call for the question. Those in favor? Opposed? Motion carry. Moving on to item number 2. Award of contract 7214Q on call roofing contractor. Mr. Lee, anything to add or new information?
Mr. Chair, nothing further to add. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Good. Michael?
Thank you through the chair of the staff. Just one question. Do we know if this contractor pays a living wage?
Through the chair to Councillor Wolf, we do not know if this contractor pays a living wage.
Okay, then a follow-up question. Could that be asked of them and shared with us by the council meeting coming up?
Through the chair to Councillor Wolf, yes, we can send an inquiry into the contractor, and we can report back to council.
Okay, then thank you. With the follow-up, then we'll support it at this committee pending with that commitment there. But at council, if there's no answer by then, I will be opposed to it at that time. So thank you.
Okay, good. Any further questions?
Move the recommendation.
Move.
Second.
Second. Call the question. Those in favor? Opposed? Motion carry. Moving on to item number 3, public electric vehicle charger program update. Mr. Russell, any new information or anything to add?
Nothing to add, Mr. Chair. Both myself and Suzanne Bycraft are here to answer questions as needed.
Okay. Now I know I have Mr. John Roston wanting to make a delegation. So if there's no objection, I would like to invite Mr. Roston to speak on this item.
Thank you very much, Councillor Rao.
You have 10 minutes.
Okay, I promise not to mention rental housing. You have our written submission, and I'd just like to expand on 2 points. One is the installation of charging in existing strata buildings. And that's really been a major problem. And despite the generous subsidies that are available from the provincial government, many strata councils are very reluctant to install charging because they see it as only benefiting a minority of their residents at this point. So the EV owners in those buildings then go and charge at city charging stations. So as the number of EVs is increasing rapidly, and we have many strata buildings in Richmond, we can anticipate an increasing demand for new city charging stations to accommodate these people in strata buildings. And these new charging stations are paid for by the city, admittedly with some subsidies from higher levels of government. It's as you know, it's a major expenditure by the city. When this charging should be taking place in the strata buildings, using infrastructure paid for by the strata buildings, not by the city. So the solution to this is a common problem in other jurisdictions, and the solution is right to charge legislation, which requires strata councils to install charging at the request of a resident EV owner. Now, such legislation already exists in places like California, Washington State, and in Ontario. However, in BC, the provincial government in November 2020, so going back quite a ways, sent a mandate letter from the Premier to the Minister responsible for housing, which included a directive to, and I quote, bring in right-to-charge legislation that will enable installation of electric vehicle charging infrastructure in more strata and apartment buildings, end of quote. So in the meantime, that was back in November 2020, nothing has happened. So I think it's very important that the city write to the minister responsible for housing, pointing out the urgency of such legislation and the fact that until it is passed, there is an increasing financial burden on the city of Richmond and an increasing need to devote city real estate to public charging that should be taking place in strata buildings. So Plug-in Richmond would be delighted to co-sign such a letter on behalf of Richmond EV owners. The second point I'd like to mention is the need for more level 3 chargers instead of level 2 chargers. This is related to the first point in that level 3 charging is for those needing occasional charging when away from home. It is not for those using a city charger instead of a home charger. So very frequent charging of EV batteries at level 3 shortens their life. And that's why in the future, almost at present, over 80% of all charging actually does occur in the home. And we're trying to make that 99%. But in the future, most public EV charging that the city will be paying for will be for those from outside Richmond who need to charge in order to get back home. So somebody from Abbotsford, say, who comes into Richmond to do whatever and then has to charge in order to get back home. And it will also be for occasional emergency charging by Richmond residents who, for one reason or another, didn't charge at home on a particular day. So just to sum up, right to charge legislation gets charging installed in all residential buildings so that everyone can charge at home. Then the number of public level 2 stations we have is more than sufficient, and we should only be installing level 3 stations and planning to convert some of the level 2 stations to level 3 in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Roston? Michael?
Thank you. My question through you, Chair, to the delegate relates to, again, I claim I'm not a Tesla driver, but I've heard that a lot of people, because they don't have access to charging in their building around the Richmond Center area, particularly, they don't park their electric vehicles in their building parking. Instead, they park it in the Tesla stalls along Westminster Highway by the bay at Richmond Center. So that behavior, does that impact, do you feel that impacts our public charging stations as well, where people they don't have the option, so they just leave it there all night from 10 o'clock at night to 6 in the morning when they're going to head to work? So could you comment on what Plug in Richmond has noticed in that trend?
Yes, that's absolutely the case. So as you know, the city's charging stations charge by the hour. So the question is, how much you're willing to pay if you leave it there overnight, even though the car is finished charging, you're still racking up additional charges. But for most people, it's at level 2. So as you can see from the list, the vast majority of the city's charging stations are at level 2. So that's going to take these people, on average, about 2 hours to recharge roughly half their capacity, whatever they've used on a normal day. So for 2 hours, you're not going to sit in your car. You go home, and as you say, you may decide to just stay home and come back in the morning. That has a major impact in that if enough people do that, and as there's an increasing number of EVs that's likely to happen, then it's extremely frustrating, and this has happened to me. You come along and you cannot get access to charging because some guy who's charging finished an hour ago, is off who knows where. So there is Tesla, at the Tesla recharging stations, they're very technology savvy. So if you own a Tesla and you go over time, it sends a notice to your cell phone telling you that charging is finished and that their clock is now cranking up, and there are going to be very, very heavy charges for you for you staying there longer. And of course, they know exactly who you are, so they can impose additional penalties. But aside from Tesla, in terms of the city's charging stations, not only is it a problem now, but you're quite right, it's going to be a bigger problem in the future.
Linda?
My question is for staff.
Oh, okay. So any further questions for Mr. Ralston? Seeing none, so I return questions to staff. Linda?
Thanks, Mr. Chair, and through you to staff. Well, I have heard from several people who live in multifamily condo buildings where they don't have EV chargers. So we know that new builds, they have to be wired for have the 220 wiring there for them. Is there anything that we're doing as a city to encourage the already built multifamily complexes to put in EV chargers? Do you think a letter is a good idea? I mean, I would be in favor of doing a letter if you think it would have any traction.
Through the chair to Councillor McPhail, the CEEP, the recently adopted Community Energy and Emissions Plan, does note the need for support for existing buildings. In particular, the Energy and Emissions Plan calls for a Strata advisor program. So staff will be assessing that in the coming year to support retrofits in existing buildings. And the Energy and Emissions Plan also notes an action to support the right to charge legislation through advocacy.
So when will that be coming back to us? Perhaps we should move the letter writing part up, or when will the whole report be coming?
At this stage, staff are not contemplating a report on this item specifically. That said, a letter from City Council, I think, would get some activity at the province.
Okay, great. I'll make that referral when it's appropriate. Now, my second question is, I was speaking with a developer recently, and he was telling me how expensive it was to put in level 3 EV chargers, double or triple the price of the level 2, and that he was having difficulty with BC Hydro also because they only were giving the development so much power, and after that, he would have to go in and buy a substation, which was costing hundreds of thousands of dollars, which put them back to, well, we'll just get as many level 2 chargers as we can. So I guess my question is, what is the price difference between level 2 and level 3 chargers? And is that part of our consideration? Because I wondered about the number of level 3 chargers we were putting in as well.
Through the chair to Councillor McPhail, the cost is substantially different. And it all does depend on whether you do have enough electrical supply or not. On average, it's approximately $200,000 for a level 3, and compared to a level 2 at about $40,000 on average by the time we run the service to it. So it is substantially more expensive for the level 3, and you do have to have the power supply. In some cases, you have to add a transformer. So it's all location dependent.
All right, so was that part of the reasoning into our plan?
Through the chair to Councillor McPhail, it certainly was, just in terms of with the funding that was approved. Those considerations did go into what makes the most sense financially as well as for public convenience.
All right.
Through the chair, I would add the current expansion related very specifically to senior government funding as well. They did offer separate programs for level 2 charging, which accounts for the bulk of our recent expansion. And there was a limited program for level 3 charging or fast charging, which is why we have the 4 today. We doubled the investment through federal funding on that project.
All right, thanks for that.
Okay, Michael?
Thank you. Through the chair's staff, a few things that kind of piggyback what was just said there. So I know the referral's not on the floor yet, but if Councillor McPhail makes that one, I would support it to write the letter and get that going earlier, thanks to staff's comment there. But I would also suggest that we also write to the UBCM around asking that question at that level and getting more support from other municipalities. I think that would be the kind of item that Richmond would put forward, since we have kind of the leadership in this area. My second comment relates to I agree, more level 3 chargers was what I was expecting. We would be kind of going in that direction, but hearing just now that what was recommended in this item was attached to federal funding, and the budget process is done for this round. But could staff comment on the consideration for a municipal budget for level 3 chargers in the potential scenario where there's a lack of federal funding next year? Like, will we be putting more funding into next year's budget for level 3 chargers?
Through the chair to Councillor Wolf, staff could take such direction. At this stage, given the recent expansion, I think it's prudent to assess how the usage takes place. And if we're the charging services that are meeting the need of users. If we note that the utilization is extremely high, that would be something I think we could consider for future recommendations for funding.
Thank you. So if I just follow up on that point, then would staff be able to have some indication by the time the next year's budget is being considered, so that we have some data to base perhaps a larger contribution of municipal funds for it, for converting existing level 2s into 3s, or only putting level 3s with the higher cost being attached to them going forward? Like, do you think staff would have some data to be considered by the next budgetary process?
Through the chair to Councillor Wolf, the report notes growth in usage, and that's positive. But what's uncertain at this point is where that growth is going to go, if it's going to continue on the same trend or if it's going to flatten. I think, again, it's prudent for us to look at these trends, consider those opportunities. I think staff wouldn't neglect the opportunity to bring forward an opportunity for funding new chargers as needed. But at this time, we think the cost and the usage, sorry, not the revenue and the usage, might not be there yet.
Okay, thank you. My final comment then on this item, I've shared this the city and the Green Ambassadors who created that PowerPoint about electric vehicles, and I've shared it with students. And the number one thing that they say about will their first vehicle be an electric vehicle is they don't live in a place where they could reach a plug-in, and they'd have to park on the street, and they have to park too far away for it to reach, even with extension cord. But so that's a big hesitation, and without having the ability to go sit on the phone for half an hour and game or whatever while they get their charge and then go, I think we need to accommodate the future person who wants that 30-minute charge, not the couple hours, as was mentioned. And so again, if Councillor McPhail makes that motion, I'd like to add the UBCM potential in there, unless staff want to comment on the need for that or, yeah, thanks.
Okay, before I go to Linda, I want to ask staff a question. Now, please refresh our memory on how do we deal with the problem of people overstaying their time for charging? Do we give them a fine or something like that?
Through the chair, or Mr. Chair, I should say. Yes, the price structure notes that there's an escalation of cost. I believe it's on. It's on DLT 28. So for level 2, for instance, after a certain period of time, 2 hours of usage, the rate does escalate. So that's intended to promote rollover or turnover of the equipment.
Okay, so Suzanne, go ahead.
Mr. Chair, I can just add that we haven't had problems with people parking overnight at the station at this stage.
Okay, yeah.
If that was your question.
Okay, yeah, that's the question I was about to ask. Do we see a problem, there yet? So you're saying that there's not such a problem yet?
Not with parking overnight because of the charging fees for parking. So.
Okay, good. Okay, very good. Mr. Roston, you want to speak for the second time?
Just a point of information. I think it's at least a year ago, UBCM already passed a resolution on right to charge. So that's already been done and forwarded to the provincial government.
Okay, good. Thank you for that information. So, Linda?
Thank you. I just wanted one piece of clarification. So I just Googled right to charge, and it says that in November 2020, the mandate letter from the Premier to the Minister responsible for housing was to bring in right to charge legislation. So has that been brought in? Can I just get that clarified?
Okay,
through the chair to Councillor McPhail, I'd have to confirm that. I don't know offhand, but I do believe Mr. Ralston had mentioned it.
Okay, so I guess,
Yeah.
So it has been brought in,
Yeah.
It is legislation now?
No.
No, okay.
No.
So we want to write to the council, write to the province of British Columbia, to the Minister of Housing, to bring in legislation for the right to charge that will enable installation of electric vehicle charging infrastructure in more strata and apartment buildings.
Okay. Give a second.
Second.
Sorry, I've been kicked off.
Oh, no.
Okay. So any further discussion on this motion, I mean? Seeing none, I'll call a question on the motion. Those in favor, oppose, Motion carried. Now, I want to ask, perhaps I would like to ask staff to provide us a written reply or information on the issue about level 2 and level 3 charges. My reason is that I don't want us to forget about this. So instead of making a further study, can staff come back with a memo as a reply to this question being raised by Mr. Roston, so that we won't forget? We got a record of the issue, so that in the future we can do something when the time is appropriate. Can I ask for that?
Mr. Chair, yes, we will provide that. Staff will provide.
Okay, good. Okay, any?
Move the recommendation.
Okay, move. Seconded. Those in favor, opposed, motion carry. And finally, item number 4, change order approval, contract 6503, EV charging infrastructure and management provider. Suzanne, anything to add or any new information?
Mr. Chair, I have nothing to add.
Okay. Any question? Seeing none?
Move the recommendation.
Move, seconded. Let's call the question. Those in favor, opposed, motion carried. Okay. Final item, manager's report. Any report from staff? Yes?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I have an update from transportation about the city's electric scooter pilot program. On May 4th, Lime began operation of shared electric scooters and electric bike service in the city. Since launching, over 2,000 users have signed up for the program, and 1,200 trips have been taken. To date, Lime has implemented a fleet consisting of 50 e-scooters and 25 e-bikes that are available for rent at designated parking areas located in the city center. Staff have not received any complaints since Lime commenced their operations. To support user training, Lime has partnered with Hub Cycling and is offering recurring in-person safety sessions to educate riders on how to safely ride and properly park an e-scooter. And staff will also continue with our safety-related social media posts throughout the duration of the e-scooter pilot program. Thank you.
Very good. Any question for staff? No? Okay. I shouldn't see the e-scooters everywhere.
Yeah, everywhere.
It's very popular. Yeah. Okay. Any further report?
Hi, Mr. Chair. I have a report as well. This is Chad Pollen from Environment. Staff are excited to inform members of the committee today that Richmond has been named as the 2022 recipient for the CAMA's Environmental Leadership and Sustainability Award for the city's citywide pollinator program. This national award recognizes the dedication to environmental and sustainability excellence in projects that meet the needs of the present without compromising the future, and acknowledges Council's longstanding commitment to protect, enhance, and create pollinator habitat in Richmond. In celebration of this achievement, staff have already notified members of Council and the senior management team via email, posted on the city's website news pages, posted on the city's social media channels, and a memo is forthcoming. Thank you.
Good. Thank you. Michael, you have a question?
Yes, just one question on this is, has the city been specifically doing some like no-mow May activities? I know it's kind of been catching on more in the UK and there's some areas in North America too. But I have noticed that some areas like a Pollock Park are kind of left to grow. Is that part of the city strategy that we're part of that trend? Thanks.
To the chair, to Councillor Wolf, I don't know of any specific no-mow May initiatives right now. I know that it is gaining traction, and we are considering no-mow May initiatives in the future in our area directly. I would have to consult internally to understand anything going on in the park areas right now.
Thank you. Any further reports? Peter?
Yes, Mr. Chair, yes, I have an update. So the province announced this week the launch of the Local Government Climate Action Program. This replaces the Climate Action Rebate Incentive Program, CARET, that was canceled last year. There's similar requirements expected. However, staff are still looking into the information that's released and will report back via memorandum. Staff have been advised or notified of the amount of the grant that the city will be receiving, which is substantially increased from approximately $230,000 per year to $566,000 this year. The program runs for 3 years at this point from available funding, and staff will monitor and report back accordingly.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Okay. Suzanne?
Yes, Mr. Chair, just wanted to highlight that this week is National Public Works Week. So we are actively with our program, that is the social media program at this time. So we have been posting different items and materials on social media posts and videos of things such as snow response in action. Our depot tour will be tomorrow. There will be one on our Springford water main project, on the pipes are more than about people. And plus we have our website up where residents can go and learn about our different programs. We also have added coloring pages, which are actually based on real photos of City of Richmond employees at work that are coloring pages. So I just wanted to highlight that is going on this week, and we are celebrating with our staff as well, who are ready and resilient.
Very good. Thank you. Michael?
Thanks. I was going to ask a couple questions after manager's report, but it kind of fits in with this item about the Public Works week and advertising what we do, the great work. So my first question was about being prepared for next month. A year ago, we had an extreme heat wave that kicked off in the end of June. And I've heard that other cities have been staff have been bringing to their councils in this month some new initiatives, such as I believe in City of Vancouver, they're at their works yard, they're building water fountains with materials, and then they basically piggyback on fire hydrants to provide, in the heat waves, accessible water, not spewing out in high pressure, but safe for someone to fill up a cup or drink from. And I know the city last year, we were praised for having the misting stations. So can staff comment at all on our preparations for next month related to that?
Through the chair to Councillor Wolf, I believe that would be coming forward to our emergency programs group, but we do participate with them on that. We did do the misting stations last year as part of that, as well as the drinking fountains, but that's probably more appropriately brought forward through emergency programs, likely through Community Safety Committee. I can follow up with the fire chief on that if they intend to bring something forward, but we do participate with that program.
Great, thank you. I will follow up with that as well. Thanks. The second one related was around the city banners. Have all the city banners gone up? And I brought this up at a previous Public Works meeting because there was one that was going to go up for perhaps in Hamilton if they had the right kind of holder for it. Was there an update on that?
Through the Councillor Wolf, we can check with the Parks Group to see if they have installed them. The last information was that there would be banners installed in the Hamilton area, but I will check and we'll provide an update to you.
Great, thanks. And then my next one on Public Works was our equipment, our gas-powered landscaping equipment. And again, I've heard many municipalities are making the switch to electric landscaping equipment. I know previously we received a memo of our move in that way, and Chad Pollan responded to it, a member of the public recently, on our many of our strategies that are helping that initiative come forth, but we're kind of slow on battery technology. Anyhow, are we bringing more online this season? New electric equipment that's no noise and no pollution, or less noise and no pollution?
Through the chair to Councillor Wolf, we are always monitoring what is out there in the marketplace. One of the challenges to date has been the applicability of what's available on the marketplace for commercial applications, which is for us, that we would need. From a commercial side, it's more focused on the residential aspect of things, but it is something we are actively, continually monitoring and incorporating where feasible.
Thank you. I'll wait if there's more staff manager updates, because I had another question about transportation, but I'll wait if Lloyd's coming up next.
Okay, so if there's no further report, no further question, okay, Michael? Oh,
Thanks. My question was, oh, sorry, was there another one? If not, my question was just about last month, we heard about traffic around schools, and there was that report, and there was only one school sample that was in that report. So my question is, will those be made public, the maps of the 84% of Richmond schools that have areas of concern for traffic safety around them? Have those been communicated with the schools already? Are they going to be made public? Can I see them? That kind of thing. Thanks.
who can answer that? Okay, Lloyd?
No, I can answer that, Mr. Chair. Through the chair to Councillor Wolf. Absolutely. Our staff is already engaging with the principals from a number of schools. Like they noted our report, and they've contacted us actually, and so that's moving along already. Certainly, we can share the materials with yourself and the rest of the council if you would like. I don't know that they're conclusive yet. They're certainly a work in progress, but we're happy to share them with you.
Okay, good. Seeing no further question or reports, move, seconded, meeting adjourned. Thank you. Bye-bye.